The emergency alarms echoed through the massive halls of the Galactic Council chamber. Representatives from 73 different species had gathered in the greatest assembly in 3,000 years. The air buzzed with tension as translators worked overtime, converting clicks, whistles, and complex harmonics into understandable speech. Ambassador Keth stood at the center podium, his forearms gesturing frantically at the holographic display above. The image showed a dark cloud spreading across the outer rim of the galaxy, consuming star systems in its path. Red markers indicated 12 worlds already lost to the advancing threat. "The Devourer swarm has returned," Keth announced, his voice carrying across the vast chamber. "Intelligence reports suggest they have grown stronger during their absence. Their bioships now number in the hundreds of thousands." Fleet Admiral Torvin of the Century Dominion rose from his seat, his scaled hide reflecting the chamber's dim lighting. His species had fought the swarm before, losing entire fleets in the process. "What are our current defensive capabilities?" "Every member world is required to contribute ships," Keth replied, consulting his datapad. "Protocol 7 has been activated. This includes all provisional members." A murmur of confusion rippled through the assembly. Several representatives exchanged glances, uncertain about the implications. The Altarian delegate raised a tentacle. "In question. Are you suggesting we request aid from primitive worlds?" The Altarian asked. "Species barely capable of interstellar travel? The humans of Earth have been provisional members for 2 years, Keth stated firmly. "They must be included in our call for aid." Torvin's laugh was a harsh sound that needed. "No translation? The humans? They have not established a single colony beyond their home system. Their weapons are crude projectile devices powered by chemical reactions. What possible contribution could they make?" "Every ship matters," Keth insisted. "The swarm consumed an entire Vorthan battle group in the Kepler system. We need numbers, regardless of technological capability." The debate continued for hours, with various species arguing about the wisdom of including backward civilizations in their defense plans. The Ethereal Collective suggested that primitive weapons might actually prove useless against the swarm's adaptive armor. The Nexus Federation worried about coordination problems with species using different communication protocols. Finally, the vote was called. By a narrow margin, the Council agreed to send requests for aid to all member worlds, including Earth. The message would be transmitted using the quantum relay network, reaching every corner of known space within days. 3 days later, the message arrived at Earth's primary communication facility in Antarctica. The facility's director, Dr. Williams, stared at the decoded transmission in disbelief. The Galactic Council was requesting military assistance against an existential threat to all civilized life. President Martinez was awakened at 3 in the morning and briefed on the situation. Within hours, the emergency session was convened in the underground bunkers beneath New Geneva. The world's military leaders gathered around a holographic display showing what little information Earth had about the Devourer swarm. "The Council is requesting all available military vessels," General Park explained, his weathered face grim. "Intelligence suggests this threat could consume the entire galaxy if not stopped." Admiral Roberts studied the tactical data, her mind racing through possibilities. Earth's space fleet consisted of 14 vessels, most of them converted science. Ships with minimal armament. Only 3 were purpose-built warships, and even those were considered primitive by galactic standards. "We have the Defiance, the Retribution, and the Vengeance," Roberts stated. "The Vengeance is our newest and most advanced vessel. It was completed just 6 months ago." "One ship?" questioned Defense Minister Liu, "against a galactic threat?" "One ship is what we can spare," Roberts replied. "The other vessels are needed." "For Earth's defense?" "If this swarm is as dangerous as the Council suggests, we cannot leave our home world unprotected." The debate raged for hours. Some officials argued that Earth should ignore the request, focusing entirely on defending the home system. Others insisted that humanity's survival depended on the galaxy's survival. Making participation mandatory, President Martinez finally called for silence. "What are the specifications of the Vengeance?" Admiral Roberts activated the holographic display showing the sleek lines of humanity's most advanced warship. Length, 800 meters. Crew, 400. Primary armament, 6 electromagnetic railguns. Secondary armament, 48 missile tubes loaded with nuclear warheads. Propulsion, fusion drive with quantum field manipulation for faster than light. Travel, how does it compare to Galactic standard warships? Asked General Park. According to our intelligence, it would be classified as a light cruiser, Roberts admitted. Most Council species deploy vessels 2 to 3 times larger as their primary combat units. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Earth would be contributing what amounted to a patrol boat to a battle involving massive dreadnoughts and battle cruisers. The Council will think we are mocking them, muttered Defense Minister Liu. Perhaps, Roberts acknowledged, but Captain Blake commands the Vengeance. If anyone can make a difference with limited resources, it is him. Captain Blake had earned his reputation during the Mars Rebellion, using unconventional tactics to defeat a superior enemy force. His ability to think outside established doctrine had saved countless lives and earned him command of humanity's newest warship. Very well, President Martinez decided. We send the Vengeance. Admiral Roberts, prepare the necessary orders. The ship is to join the defensive fleet at the Sigma Draconis system. Understood, Madam President, Roberts replied. I will brief Captain Blake personally. As the meeting ended, each official understood the gravity of the situation. Earth was sending a single ship to fight alongside the galaxy's greatest fleets, against an enemy that had already consumed 12-star systems. The odds were overwhelming, but humanity had never been known to back down from impossible challenges. The Vengeance received its orders within hours. Along with all available intelligence about the Devourer swarm, Captain Blake studied the data, carefully noting the enemy's adaptive capabilities and their preference for close-range combat. His tactical mind was already formulating plans. Considering how human weapons might perform against bioorganic armor, the ship departed Earth's orbit exactly 24 hours after receiving the Council's request. As it entered hyperspace, heading toward the gathering point of the greatest fleet in galactic history, Captain Blake could not know that his single vessel would prove to be the key to victory. The galaxy was about to learn what humanity could accomplish. When everything was on the line, the Vengeance dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sigma Draconis system, its hull still warm from the journey through folded space. Captain Blake stood on the bridge, watching as the tactical display slowly populated with thousands of contacts. The assembled fleet stretched across millions of kilometers, representing the combined might of 73 different civilizations. Contact analysis complete, sir, reported Lieutenant Torres from the sensor station. I count 4,736 vessels of various classifications. Blake nodded, studying the massive formation with professional interest. The Altarian ships were elegant curves of silver and blue, their hulls designed more for beauty than function. The Centauri dreadnoughts resembled floating cities, bristling with weapon emplacements and defensive systems. Most impressive were the Ethereal Collective's vessels, living ships that pulsed with bioluminescent patterns. Sir, we are receiving a priority transmission from Fleet Command, announced Communications Officer Hayes. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing the imposing figure of Fleet Admiral Torvin. His reptilian features showed barely concealed disdain as he examined the human vessel through his own sensors. Behind him, the bridge of the Dominion's Wrath displayed technology that made human systems look primitive. This is the extent of Earth's contribution? Torvin asked, his translated voice carrying across the bridge. A single light cruiser? The U's Vengeance is ready for combat operations, Admiral, Blake replied evenly. Where do you need us? The question prompted laughter from other bridges monitoring the communication channel. Blake could hear the amusement in various alien voices, their translators rendering mirth into recognizable sounds. His crew shifted uncomfortably, aware that they were being dismissed as irrelevant. Sector 77 Alpha, Torvin finally replied, his amusement evident. Long-range reconnaissance duties. Try not to get vaporized before the real fighting begins. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving Blake's bridge in uncomfortable silence. The assignment was clearly meant to keep them out of the way, positioned far from the main battle lines where they could do minimal damage to themselves or others. "Reconnaissance duty," muttered Chief Engineer Davis, his hands working over the power distribution console. "They might as well have put us in the rear with the supply ships." "Belay that attitude, Chief," Blake said firmly. "We are here to do a job regardless of what others think about our capabilities." "Aye, sir," Davis replied, returning his attention to the engineering displays. "All systems are nominal. The kinetic barriers are holding steady at 97% efficiency. Railguns are loaded with standard tungsten penetrators." Blake studied the tactical overview, noting the fleet's defensive formation. The Council had arranged their forces in a traditional battle line, with the largest ships at the center and smaller vessels providing screening. Intelligence suggested the Devourer swarm would arrive in multiple waves, testing the defenses before committing their full strength. "Status on our missile complement?" Blake asked. 48 nuclear warheads in the tubes, sir," reported Weapons Officer Park. "Each one is a 2-megaton yield with enhanced radiation output. We also have conventional explosive warheads if the situation calls for them." "Good. Take us to our assigned position and begin long-range scans. I want to know everything about this system before the enemy arrives." The Vengeance moved through the fleet formation, drawing curious glances from alien crews. Many had never seen human technology up close, and their reactions ranged from polite interest to open contempt. The ship's angular lines and functional design contrasted sharply with the elegant curves and organic shapes preferred by most galactic civilizations. As they reached their assigned position, Blake ordered a full sensor sweep of the surrounding space. The Sigma Draconis system contained 7 planets, including 2 gas giants that could provide hiding places for enemy forces. The primary star was a G-type similar to Earth's sun, its radiation creating interference patterns that might mask approaching ships. "Sir, I am detecting unusual quantum fluctuations near the outer planets," Torres reported. "The patterns are consistent with hyperspace preparation signatures." "How long until arrival?" Blake asked. "Approximately 18 hours, sir. The fluctuations suggest a massive force, possibly larger than our current estimates." Blake activated the communication system, preparing to relay this information to Fleet Command. The quantum fluctuations indicated that the Devourer swarm was already preparing their approach, using techniques that most species could not detect. "Fleet Command, this is the Vengeance. We are detecting hyperspace preparation signatures throughout the outer system. Enemy arrival time estimated at 18 hours. "Confirmed, Vengeance," came the reply from a Centuri communications officer. "Admiral Torvin acknowledges your report. Maintain sensor watch and report any changes." The next several hours passed slowly as the fleet prepared for battle. Ships moved into final positions, their crews running last-minute checks on weapons and defensive systems. The Vengeance continued its sensor sweeps, providing regular updates on the approaching enemy force. Blake used the time to study everything known about the Devourer swarm. Their ships were biological entities, grown rather than built, with the ability to adapt their defenses based on the weapons used against them. Previous encounters had shown that energy weapons became less effective over time as the bioships evolved countermeasures. "Sir, the enemy force is much larger than initially estimated," Torres announced. "I count at least 50,000 individual contacts, possibly more." The tactical display updated to show the approaching swarm, represented as a cloud of red dots moving toward the system's inner planets. The scale was staggering, with enemy numbers exceeding the defending fleet by more than 10 to 1. "All ships, prepare for combat," Admiral Torvin's voice echoed across the fleet communications network. "The enemy will arrive in approximately 2 hours. Remember, these creatures adapt to our weapons. Rotate your firing patterns and avoid prolonged engagements." Blake studied the enemy formation, noting the three distinct waves visible in the sensor data. The first wave consisted of smaller scout ships designed to test the defenses and gather information. The second wave contained the main combat units, massive bioships capable of devastating firepower. The third wave remained mysterious, their ships different from anything in the intelligence reports. "Chief, I want maximum power to the railguns when the fighting starts," Blake ordered. "Forget the safety protocols. We may only get one chance to make an impression." "Understood, sir," Davis replied. "The magnetic coils can handle 20% overrated capacity, but we risk system damage." "Acceptable risk," Blake decided. "What about our nuclear arsenal?" "Standard warheads are ready, sir. We also have those experimental uranium penetrators we fabricated during the journey." Blake nodded, remembering the special ammunition they had created. The uranium penetrators were designed to punch through armor before detonating, creating maximum damage to internal systems. They were untested against bioorganic targets, but the theory was sound. "Keep those in reserve," Blake instructed. "We may need them if conventional weapons prove ineffective." The Vengeance held position as the final minutes ticked away, its crew tense with anticipation. Around them, the massive Galactic fleet prepared for the greatest battle in recorded history. Energy weapons charged, missile tubes loaded, and defensive systems activated as thousands of ships readied themselves for combat. Captain Blake stood on his bridge, watching the tactical display as the enemy force approached. In a few hours, they would discover whether humanity's crude weapons could make a difference against an enemy that had already consumed 12 star systems. The galaxy was about to witness what humans could accomplish when everything was on the line. The Devoura swarm materialized out of hyperspace like a plague of insects, their bioships bleeding into normal space in a display that defied conventional understanding. The first wave consisted of thousands of smaller vessels, each one a living creature bred for war. Their chitinous hulls pulsed with bioluminescent patterns that seemed to communicate across the void. Captain Blake watched from the Vengeance's bridge as the enemy formation took shape. The scout ships moved with fluid grace, their movements coordinated in ways that suggested a hive mind rather than individual command structures. Behind them, larger shapes began to emerge from the hyperspace rifts. "First wave contact confirmed," reported Torres from the sensor station, counting approximately 8,000 individual vessels. "They are maintaining formation at 2 million kilometers from the fleet." Fleet Admiral Torvin's voice echoed across the communication network as he coordinated the defense. "All ships prepare to engage. Remember, these creatures adapt to our weapons. Rotate firing patterns and target the largest ships first." The Galactic fleet opened fire with a spectacular display of energy weapons. Plasma cannons sent brilliant streams of superheated matter across the void, while particle beams carved through space with deadly precision. The combined firepower of 4,000 ships created a light show visible from neighboring star systems. The effect on the Devour swarm was immediate and devastating. Scout ships dissolved under the concentrated barrage, their bioorganic hulls unable to withstand the initial assault. Explosions blossomed throughout the enemy formation as creature after creature died in the vacuum of space. "Enemy first wave is taking heavy casualties," Blake observed, watching the tactical display. "Their armor seems vulnerable to concentrated energy fire." "Sir, the larger ships are arriving," Torres announced. Second wave emergence detected. Blake's blood ran cold as the tactical display updated. The second wave was 3 times larger than the first, and their bioships were clearly different. These creatures were heavily armored, with additional weapon clusters grafted to their hulls. Worse, they were arriving in an unexpected location. "Communications, patch me through to Fleet Command immediately," Blake ordered. "Admiral Torvin, this is the Vengeance. The second wave is flanking your position. They are emerging from hyperspace behind the fleet formation." "Impossible," Torvin replied, his voice strained with concentration. "Our sensors show no hyperspace activity in that sector." "Sir, they are using some kind of dampening field to mask their approach," Blake insisted. You have approximately 4 minutes before they complete their encirclement. The next few minutes proved Blake's warning correct. The second wave materialized behind the Galactic fleet, their bioships immediately opening fire with devastating effect. The elegant Altarian cruisers found themselves caught between two enemy forces, their shields failing under the concentrated assault. All ships, break formation, Torvin commanded. Implement emergency dispersal protocol. The careful battle line dissolved into chaos as individual ships fought for survival. The Centauri dreadnoughts, built for line combat, struggled to reorient their weapons against enemies attacking from multiple directions. Several ethereal collective vessels were destroyed in the first minutes of the engagement, their crystalline hulls shattered by bioorganic weapons. Blake studied the tactical situation, his mind racing through possibilities. The second wave bioships were clearly more advanced than the scouts, their armor already showing signs of adaptation. Energy weapons that had been devastating against the first wave were proving less effective against these new targets. "Sir, the fleet is taking heavy casualties," Hayes reported. "The Altarian 3rd Squadron has lost 60% of their ships. The Centauri are requesting immediate assistance." Blake made a decision that would change everything. "Helm, take us into the engagement zone. Target the largest bioship in the second wave formation." "Sir, that is suicide," protested Lieutenant Commander Stone. "Our weapons cannot penetrate their armor at this range." "Trust me, Stone. Jiff, I need every ounce of power to the railguns. Forget the safety protocols completely." The Vengeance accelerated toward the heart of the battle, its hull groaning under the strain of overcharged engines. Around them, the Galactic fleet fought desperately against overwhelming odds. Plasma beams and particle cannons created a deadly web of energy, but the bioships were adapting quickly. "Sir, the enemy armor is evolving," Park reported from the weapons station. "Their hulls are developing reflective properties. Energy weapons are becoming less effective." Blake nodded, having expected this development. The Devourer Swarm's ability to adapt was legendary, but their biological nature also provided certain limitations. He was counting on those limitations to give humanity an advantage. "Railguns charging to 120% capacity," Davis announced. "Magnetic coils are holding, but we risk permanent damage to the system." "Acceptable risk," Blake replied. "Lock onto the largest bioship and prepare to fire on my command." The Vengeance closed to point-blank range with a massive creature that resembled a living asteroid. The bioship was easily 10 times larger than the human vessel, its surface covered with weapon pods and defensive structures, dozens of smaller creatures swarmed around it, providing escort and protection. "Firing solution locked," Park announced. "All guns ready." "Fire everything," Blake commanded. The railguns discharged simultaneously, sending tungsten penetrators at a significant fraction of light speed. The kinetic projectiles struck the bioship's hull with devastating effect, punching through its adaptive armor like paper. The creature's internal organs ruptured, biofluid spraying into the void as it began to die. The alien fleet fell silent for a moment, their communication channels buzzing with confused chatter. No ship in the Galactic fleet had managed to inflict such damage on the heavily armored bioships. "Impossible," whispered Admiral Torvin over the open channel. "Our most powerful plasma cannons barely scratched that creature." Blake's tactical officer was already analyzing the enemy's weakness. "Sir, their armor appears to be designed specifically to counter energy weapons. It is completely ineffective against kinetic projectiles." "Then we give them kinetics," Blake said grimly. "All ships, this is the Vengeance. Switch to physical projectiles. Missiles, mass drivers, anything that relies on kinetic energy rather than directed energy." The message spread through the fleet like wildfire. Ships designed for elegant energy combat began firing their secondary weapons, systems that most species considered primitive backup armaments. The effect was immediate and devastating. Altarian cruisers launched swarms of guided missiles, their conventional warheads tearing through bioship hulls with ease. The ethereal collective's remaining vessels began ramming attacks, their crystalline forms proving deadly against organic armor. Even the massive Centauri dreadnoughts contributed. Their point defense systems repurposed to fire streams of solid ammunition. The second wave of the Devour swarm found itself being systematically destroyed by weapons technology that most of the galaxy had abandoned centuries ago. Their sophisticated armor, evolved to counter the most advanced energy weapons, provided no protection against simple kinetic force. Enemy casualties are mounting rapidly, Torres reported. The second wave is down to 40% strength and falling. Blake allowed himself a moment of satisfaction before focusing on the tactical display. The battle was far from over, and intelligence suggested that the swarm's third wave would be different from the others. Sir, massive hyperspace signatures detected, Torres announced. The third wave is beginning to arrive. The new arrivals were unlike anything seen before. These bioships were massive, each one the size of a small city, and they moved with obvious intelligence. Their hulls were thicker, more heavily protected, and they maintained perfect formation despite the chaos around them. They have adapted, Blake realized. The third wave has observed what happened to the others. They are coming prepared for kinetic weapons. As if to confirm his assessment, the leading bioship fired a stream of projectiles that intercepted an incoming missile barrage. The creatures had evolved point defense systems, specifically designed to counter physical weapons. The galaxy's greatest battle was about to enter its most dangerous phase, and humanity's tactical advantage was about to be tested against an enemy that never stopped learning. The third wave of the Devourer swarm emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, their bioships displaying armor configurations that had never been seen before. These creatures had evolved in real time, their biological systems adapting to counter the kinetic weapons that had devastated their predecessors. Captain, Blake studied the tactical display with growing concern. The new arrivals were massive, each bioship the size of a small moon with defensive structures that bristled across their hulls. More troubling was their coordinated movement, suggesting a level of intelligence that exceeded previous encounters. Sir, our standard kinetic rounds are proving ineffective, reported Weapons Officer Park. The enemy has developed some kind of reactive armor. Tungsten penetrators are being deflected or absorbed before they can cause significant damage. Blake nodded. Grimly, he had expected this development, but hoping for more time before the swarm adapted. The creature's ability to evolve their defenses was legendary, and they had clearly learned from the destruction of the second wave. Fleet casualties are mounting, Hayes announced from the communications station. The Altarian Second Fleet has lost 80% of their ships. The Centauri are requesting immediate support. The tactical display painted a grim picture. The Galactic fleet was being systematically destroyed by bioships that had adapted to counter both energy and kinetic weapons. Ships that had dominated space for centuries were being reduced to debris by creatures that treated war as an evolutionary process. Sir, Admiral Torvin is requesting a conference with all remaining ship commanders, Torres reported. He wants to coordinate a final assault before the fleet is completely destroyed. Blake activated the communication system, connecting to the fleet command frequency. Admiral Torvin's image appeared on the main screen, his reptilian features showing the strain of command. Behind him, the bridge of the Dominion's Wrath displayed battle damage from the ongoing engagement. The situation is desperate, Torvin announced to the assembled commanders. Our conventional weapons are proving ineffective against the adapted bioships. We need new tactics or we will all die here. Captain Blake studied the tactical data, his mind racing through possibilities. The third wave had countered both energy and kinetic weapons, but their adaptations had focused on external defenses. Their internal structure remained biological, subject to the same limitations as any living organism. Admiral, what if we attack them from the inside? Blake suggested. Their armor has adapted to external threats, but their internal organs are still vulnerable. How do you propose we get through their defenses? Asked an Altarian commander, Blake's tactical officer was already running calculations. Sir, if we could deliver a nuclear warhead past their armor, The radiation and heat would be devastating to biological systems. Our missiles cannot penetrate their point defenses, observed a Centauri captain. They intercept all incoming projectiles. Then, we do not use missiles, Blake replied. We use something they cannot intercept. The conference fell silent as Blake outlined his plan. The Vengeance would approach the largest bioship at maximum speed, using its superior acceleration to close the distance before the enemy could react. At point-blank range, they would fire their railguns loaded with special nuclear penetrators. That is suicide, protested the Altarian commander. No ship can survive that close to a bioship of that size. The Vengeance can, Blake said with quiet confidence. Our armor is designed differently. We can take the punishment long enough to deliver the payload. Admiral Torvin studied the human captain with new respect. What do you need from the fleet? A distraction? Blake replied. Keep their attention focused on the main battle while we make our approach. If this works, target their command ship with everything you have. The conference ended with agreement. On the desperate plan, the Galactic fleet would continue their assault, drawing the bioship's attention while the Vengeance attempted to deliver a killing blow to the enemy command vessel. Blake returned to the bridge, his crew already preparing for the most dangerous mission of their lives. Chief Engineer Davis was working frantically to optimize the ship's systems, while Weapons Officer Park loaded the special nuclear penetrators they had fabricated during the journey. Sir, the uranium penetrators are ready, Park reported. Each one contains a 2-megaton nuclear warhead encased in depleted uranium. They are designed to punch through armor before detonating. Excellent, Blake replied. Chief, what is our maximum sustainable speed? We can maintain 90% of light speed for approximately 3 minutes, Davis answered. After that, the engines will need time to cool. That should be enough, Blake decided. Helm, plot an intercept course for the command ship. Use the gas giant's gravity well to mask our approach. The Vengeance accelerated away from the main battle, using the system's largest gas giant to hide their movement. The bioships were focused on the Galactic fleet, their attention divided among multiple threats. It was the perfect opportunity for a surprise attack. Sir, we are approaching the optimal firing position, Torres announced. The command ship is directly ahead, range decreasing rapidly. Blake studied the massive bioship through the view screen. It was truly enormous, its hull covered with weapon pods and defensive structures. Smaller creatures swarmed around it, providing protection and coordination for the entire swarm. All hands prepare for combat acceleration, Blake announced over the ship's communication system. We are going to hit them hard and fast. The Vengeance emerged from behind the gas giant at maximum speed, its hull glowing from the stress of high acceleration. The bioships detected the approach immediately, but their point defense systems were not designed for targets moving at such velocity. Firing solution locked, Park announced. All guns ready. Fire when ready, Blake ordered, the railguns discharged. Their deadly cargo sending nuclear penetrators toward the command ship at incredible velocity. The uranium-encased warheads struck the bioship's hull and punched through the adaptive armor. Detonating deep within the creature's organs, the explosion was visible across the star system, a brief sun that illuminated the entire battlefield. The command ship's death throes sent shockwaves through the surrounding swarm, its bioluminescent organs flaring one final time before going dark. The effect on the remaining bioships was immediate and devastating. Without their command structure, the coordinated swarm dissolved into individual creatures, their sophisticated tactics replaced by random aggression. Ships that had been untouchable minutes before suddenly became vulnerable to conventional weapons. All ships, concentrate fire on disabled targets, Blake broadcast to the fleet. They have lost their command structure. This is our chance. The Galactic fleet pressed their advantage, their combined firepower systematically destroying the leaderless bioships. Energy weapons and kinetic projectiles found their marks as the enemy's defensive coordination collapsed. Admiral Torvin's voice echoed across the communication network, filled with amazement and respect. Captain Blake, your tactical insight has saved us all. The swarm is breaking apart. Within 2 hours, the battle was effectively over. The debris field stretched across millions of kilometers. Warship remained slowly dissolving in the vacuum of space. The Devourer swarm, which had consumed 12 star systems, was finally destroyed. The vengeance had proven that sometimes the simplest solutions were the most effective. While the galaxy's advanced civilizations had focused on sophisticated weapons and elegant tactics, humanity had remembered the fundamental truth of warfare: find the enemy's weakness and exploit it ruthlessly. The galaxy would never underestimate humanity again. The aftermath of the battle stretched across the Sigma Draconis system like a graveyard of titans. Debris from thousands of bioships drifted through space, their organic hulls slowly dissolving in the vacuum. The Galactic fleet had suffered heavy casualties, but they had achieved something that many thought impossible: the complete destruction of a Devourer swarm. Captain Blake stood on the bridge of the Vengeance, watching the tactical display as search and rescue operations began. Ships from dozens of species worked together to locate survivors and salvage what they could from the wreckage. The cooperation was unprecedented, born from shared sacrifice and mutual respect. "Sir, we are receiving a priority transmission from Admiral Torvin," announced Communications Officer Hayes, the main view screen activated, revealing the Centauri commander's battle-scarred bridge. Torvin's reptilian features showed an expression Blake had never seen before: genuine respect, mixed with something approaching awe. "Captain Blake," Torvin said formally, "the Galactic Council has requested an immediate debrief. Your tactical innovations saved not just this fleet, but potentially all civilized life in the galaxy." "Just doing our job, Admiral," Blake replied. "Earth stands ready to serve." The formal debrief took place aboard the massive Altarian command ship, with representatives from every surviving species in attendance. Captain Blake found himself at the center of attention, his tactical decisions being analyzed and discussed by the galaxy's greatest military minds. Ambassador Keth, who had initially supported including primitive worlds in the defense, seemed vindicated by the results. "The human approach to warfare is refreshingly direct," he observed. "While we focused on sophisticated countermeasures, they identified the enemy's fundamental weakness." "Their weapons are crude but effective," admitted a Centauri general. "The railguns are essentially magnetic slingshots, yet they proved more deadly than our most advanced plasma cannons." Blake listened to the discussions with growing amazement. The galactic military establishment was completely restructuring their understanding of combat based on humanity's performance. Weapons that had been considered primitive were now being studied as potential game changers. "The nuclear penetrators were particularly ingenious," noted an ethereal collective representative, "using depleted uranium casings to punch through. Armor before detonation maximized the weapon's effectiveness against biological targets. We had to adapt," Blake explained. "Our technology is limited compared to yours, so we focus on finding creative solutions to complex problems." The debrief continued for hours with detailed analysis of every aspect of the battle. The galaxy's military leaders were particularly interested in human tactical doctrine, which emphasized flexibility and adaptation over rigid adherence to established procedures. Admiral Torvin stood to address the assembly. "The Galactic Council has decided to offer Earth full membership, with all rights and privileges. Your species has proven that technological superiority is not the only measure of military capability." The offer was unprecedented. Earth would jump from provisional member to full council status, skipping decades of bureaucratic process. It was recognition of humanity's contribution to galactic security and an acknowledgement of their unique capabilities. "I will convey the offer to my government," Blake replied. "I believe they will be honored to accept." As the formal proceedings concluded, Blake found himself approached by representatives from various species. The Altarians were interested in human tactical training programs. The Centauri wanted to study railgun technology. Even the mysterious ethereal collective expressed curiosity about human problem-solving methods. "Your species thinks differently than ours," observed a Vorthan commander. We focus on perfecting existing solutions while you create entirely new approaches. Blake nodded, understanding the observation. Human military history was filled with examples of unconventional tactics defeating superior forces. From ancient battles to modern conflicts, creativity had often triumphed over raw power. The journey back to Earth took 3 days, during which Blake compiled his report on the battle. The implications were staggering. Humanity had gone from galactic newcomer to respected military power in the span of a single engagement. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission from Earth," Hayes announced as they approached the home system. "President Martinez wants to speak with you personally." The communication link revealed the president's office, where the world's leadership had gathered to hear the battle report. Their expressions ranged from amazement to pride as Blake described the events at Sigma Draconis. "A single ship, President," Martinez repeated. "You defeated an enemy that had consumed 12 star systems with a single ship." "We had advantages they did not expect," Blake replied. "Their technology was designed to counter energy weapons, not kinetic projectiles. Sometimes the old ways are the most effective." Admiral Roberts smiled with obvious satisfaction. "The Galactic military is requesting detailed specifications on our railgun technology. They want to retrofit their entire fleet with kinetic weapons. More importantly," added Defense Minister Liu, "they are offering technology exchanges. Plasma shields, faster than light communication, advanced material science. Earth's technological development could advance by centuries." Blake understood the implications. Humanity's accidental advantage in the battle had positioned them as a major galactic power. The crude weapons that had once been a source of embarrassment were now being studied by the galaxy's most advanced civilizations. "The Council has also requested that Earth establish a military academy," President Martinez continued. "They want to learn human tactical doctrine and share it with other species." The irony was not lost on Blake. A species that had barely achieved interstellar travel was now being asked to teach warfare to civilizations that had mastered space combat for millennia. "There is one more thing," the president added. "The Council wants you to command a joint task force. Multiple species working together under human leadership to develop new defensive strategies." Blake considered the offer carefully. Leading alien crews would present unique challenges, but the opportunity to shape galactic military doctrine was unprecedented. Humanity could ensure that future conflicts would be fought with the same innovative spirit that had won the battle at Sigma Draconis. "I accept," Blake decided. "But I want to keep the Vengeance and her crew as the core of the task force." "Agreed," President Martinez replied. "The ship that saved the galaxy deserves to lead the way forward." As the communication ended, Blake returned to the bridge viewport, watching Earth grow larger ahead. The blue marble that had seemed so isolated just days before was now the center of galactic attention. Humanity had proven that sometimes the greatest strength came from thinking differently. The Vengeance had left Earth as a single ship on a desperate mission. It was returning as the flagship of a new age, carrying the hopes and dreams of not just humanity, but all civilized life in the galaxy. The universe was about to discover what humans could accomplish when they put their minds to it. The story of Earth's single warship would be told for generations, a reminder that victory often came not from having the best weapons, but from knowing how to use them.